So, does the acquisition of that bad band will be a hindrance or a help to the Steelers? Could the NFC North be one of the most competitive this year? And how will our fantasy stars do in these divisions? Well, we're going to try to find out the answers to those questions and a lot more as we get you ready to begin our annual 4-week series on divisional previews. And we're headed up north this week. We got it all covered for you right here on Fantasy Football Fever, which starts right now. Well, hello again, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Fantasy Football Fever. It is Friday night, June 6th, 2025. Welcome to the month of June, everybody. I hope everybody's doing great wherever, whenever, and however you're watching. Thanks for making this part of your week. My name is Tim McClellan. Joining me, as always, is the host of his Hooked on Sports podcast, the one and only John Flynn.
How are you doing, guys? Happy Friday. It is good to be back here on the podcast again and ready to talk some football tonight.
Oh, yeah, we're going to be talking about some football. This is where, as I said, this is where we start with our annual previews of the divisions in the NFL. We're going to be taking a look at the AFC East or AFC North and the NFC North. Got some pretty good matchups. We'll take a look at their schedules. We'll look at the over-unders and talk about that. Daniel Barry, happy Friday to you too, sir. Glad you're with us. Keep spreading the word. So, unfortunately, our good friend, our league commissioner, John Talley, will not be joining us tonight. I think he has some work issues, I guess. So, hopefully he'll be back with us next week. So, right now, as far as hot topics that have taken place in the NFL, we got this. Well, there's one real big topic, probably the biggest one of recent memory, but we're going to save that for our division previews. And it's kind of weird because Flynn, as you were telling everybody in our Facebook chat, this episode couldn't have come at a better time.
I mean, so we're at the June 1st threshold of the NFL season of the NFL off season. So that means post June 1st cuts and all that stuff can kick in, and in terms of how it relates to the 2025 salary cap situations and all of that. But yeah, but you'll see it a little bit what we mean by that. So. There were a couple of things around the NFL that I really we wanted to touch on before we touch into the 8 teams we will discuss today. First of all, Mike McDonald, the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, made some comments to the press this week talking about the Seahawks and their quarterback situation. And he said that there's no such thing as a quarterback competition this year, because remember, the Seahawks traded Geno Smith to the Raiders, and they bring in Sam Darnold, who was excellent with Kevin O'Connell and in Minnesota this offseason. So I kind of think that you look at Sam Darnold who's coming off a great season with Minnesota. Now he's gonna have a chance and have the inside road to having a productive season with Clint Kubiak coming in and coaching his offense. So I want to ask you, Tim. So where do we think the Seahawks stand? Are they going to be better than any of the other teams in their division? Because you think San Francisco, they just paid Brock Purdy. The Cardinals, I think, have a pretty good roster, and then you think about the Rams, who almost beat Philadelphia in the playoffs last year. So what are our expectations real right now for Seattle at this point?
I say Seattle could be slightly. Well, this is my honest opinion. Uh, Seattle could be like maybe slightly above average. I mean, I could probably see San Francisco and Los Angeles making a good run for their division championship. Don't really want to count out Arizona though. Um, I'm just gonna say Seattle might be average to above average. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't really see anything flashy, but I don't see anything trashy either.
Right. I mean, you can really make the case if you look at the rosters for any of these teams to make the playoffs. Now, you're probably going to get at best three teams from that division because I think you look at so that they have the good fortune of drawing the South divisions this year, with the interconference division and the rotations of all that. They played the NFC South and the AFC South, so all these teams can rack up like 5, 6, 7 wins alone from those games. But I do think Sam Darnold's going to I think he's going to have a good, solid season for the Seahawks. I mean, are we going to say playoffs? I think that's a little far fetched because I think if you look at I will, and you'll understand why when we talk about the NFC North later tonight. But I do see how the Seahawks could win some games this year behind the duo between Sam Darnold and his receivers. So we'll see what that's like. Another hot topic we'll discuss is that Anthony Richardson is going to miss mandatory minicamp next week for the Indianapolis Colts with a shoulder issue, which means that Daniel Jones
Ooh.
is going to take all the first team reps in mandatory minicamp. What does this mean now for the Indianapolis Colts?
Oh boy. Well, of course, Danny Dimes wasn't really the answer for your New York Football Giants, and I'm not sure exactly how it's going to go here. Let me take a look here at a if this will come up here. Trying to look at the Indianapolis Colt depth chart right here. So Richardson is going to be out, and look like he'll be out for the mandatory mini camps. Uh, so you got Daniel Jones, and he got Riley Leonard, and you got Jason Bean as their other two quarterbacks right now. And then you have, of course, you have returning Jonathan Taylor. Hopefully, he can have a better season than in a couple of recent years. You got Michael Pittman Jr. and Josh Downs. There's Josh Downs, a slot receiver. Alec Pierce on the right side, and Tyler Warren, their tight end. Um, Maybe a little bit better than last year. Maybe a change of scenery. Maybe a change of programs. Maybe could either help or hurt Daniel Jones. I just gotta wait and see what I can figure out here as the weeks progress going into training camps.
It's definitely going to be a quarterback competition, and you think about that there was such a big fantasy upside with Richardson because he showed he was such a dynamic athlete. When he was healthy at Florida, so that he could be he proved he could be a one man show there. But when you're not an accurate passer, in the NFL level, it's not going to bode well in terms of the confidence with the team.
Right.
And then not to mention that he quit on a game last year in the fourth quarter, that game against Houston, which I thought was pretty wild. So so now Daniel Jones is gonna take first team reps. I mean, if you're a fan of the Indianapolis Colts, I think you might want to buckle up for a bumpy ride here.
Yeah, it could be very bumpy. I mean, right now, pretty much still the best team in that division, of course, is the Houston Texans, and I don't really see that changing anytime soon.
Yeah,
So,
and I think Houston is the only team in that division that has at least a competent defense, and their defense is one of the best in the NFL. I think because they're so well coached under D'Amico Ryan. So it is. I don't. I really don't have that playoff expectation this year when it comes to the Indianapolis Colts, and having Daniel Jones take first team reps. I mean that doesn't ring a good bell to me.
yeah, it's kind of like when your stomach is getting upset a little bit. That's the kind of a feeling I have right now in Indianapolis.
Yeah, and I mean if you're watching. And I saw some tape from Daniel Jones on his deep balls. They said that the accuracy wasn't there, and like he was too hesitant. He couldn't come up with a good solid read or anything like that. So it's really gonna be dependent on him though to really do something because you might look at at Shane Steichen as a coach that could be on the hot seat this year. So not exactly roses when it comes to the Indianapolis Colts right now.
Not really. We'll just have to see what happens on that turn right there. Uh, there is one kind of a note that I would like to share with everyone. Real sad news from the from the Cowboys nation. Tom Rafferty, who played with the Cowboys as an offensive lineman from 1976 to 1989, uh, passed away yesterday at the age of 70. He was one of the guys who helped Roger Staubach and Troy Aikman to their Super Bowl successes. He helped the Cowboys get that win against the Denver Broncos in Super Bowl 12. Then, of course, he was on the losing side of the Cowboys the very next year against the Steelers in Super Bowl 13 or Super Bowl 13. So I said he'd been I think he'd been having don't know exactly what, probably he had a stroke a little while back. He was living in Colorado at the time, so yeah, it's kind of a sad day for the Cowboys nation. But Tom Rafferty, rest in peace, my friend.
Yep, no question about that. So
So any other see? I don't see any other real big
yeah,
happenings that took place
yeah.
since we last convened.
I think those are really like the a couple of big things that came up this week. In terms of NFL news that I could use.
So I guess with that, we could go ahead and get into the meat of our program.
Yes.
It is time to start previewing these divisions in the NFL. We're heading up north, so we're going to take a look at the AFC teams.
Yes.
So we will get started taking a look at those right now.
Yeah. And I think the AFC North there's going to be a lot of legitimate star players. Of course, if you've been following the NFL, that you know about um to, about the quarterbacks in that division. You look at the other star players like Derrick Henry and Jamar Chase, but but I really think and we need to look at this graphic here to really paint a good picture of what I think is going to come up here. So, as we did last year, we have the current roster projections for fantasy players on everybody here. So, um, and of course and of course the big story though in the AFC North this week the season really developed yesterday as the Pittsburgh Steelers are bringing in Aaron Rodgers to be their starting quarterback. So I think the question for you is this: does Aaron Rodgers move the needle in anything when it comes to the Steelers and their chances of winning the division?
Well, he is. I think if I'm not mistaken, he's 41 years old. He is a former Super Bowl champion. He's won a few MVP awards, but it seems like his numbers were kind of down some. Of course, he spent 2 years with the Jets, but only actually played one full year. And I think he could move the needle just a little bit, but I don't know. But he's going to have some pretty good people around him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got DK Metcalf, who the Steelers signed from the Seahawks. Calvin Austin the third, of course, Jalen Warren, and Caleb Johnson, the running backs, and of course Pratt Fryermuth, who is a very, kind of, in my opinion, kind of a underrated tight end in the AFC here. So
Yeah.
if he can establish a real good communication with those guys, there could be kind of a renaissance for Aaron Rodgers here, kind of like what Russell Wilson had with the Steelers before he left.
Yes, yeah, and I'm kind of curious about the fit with Rodgers because Arthur Smith is the offensive coordinator, and Arthur Smith is usually a run first type of running back,
Uh-huh.
a run first type of player, or a coach. I mean, but which kind of confused him. We saw that with Tennessee and how he turned Derrick Henry into a superstar,
Right.
and said, but we really didn't see much of that in terms of Bijan Robinson. I said because we knew the talent with Robinson, but we're just not seeing it used to what I think is he's capable of using. So I think you look at that. But I do think there is an opening though for Caleb Johnson to have some success his rookie year because the Steelers let Najee Harris walk in free agency. He goes signs with the Chargers. And now DK Metcalf being a WR2 on in 10, 12 team, 14 team rosters, I think there's a lot more intrigue there because there's someone who has a really good who's a quarterback that has a really good feel and a good touch with the pass. So I think Metcalf, I think he suddenly now goes back to being just someone who's probably going to go within the first 50 picks, first 60 picks in most fantasy drafts this summer. So I think Metcalf, if you have to feel a little bit better about his prospect going forward.
That's right. Well, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, the numbers you see up there, those are the positional rankings in fantasy going into the season. So just clear that up for everybody. I'm still looking at this good Ravens roster right here. You got Jackson, Henry, Justice Hill, Zay Flowers, and well, we need to mention Rashad Bateman because I think it was either yesterday or earlier today He signed a 3-year deal.
So yeah, a 3-year extension worth $36.5 million. So I think that'll take him through 2028 or something like that. So I think just so that's good. Good in terms of Lamar Jackson getting a weapon for that for his offense and have another receiver to play opposite of Zay Flowers. So, but when you have such dominant run offense with like what the Ravens had with Lamar Jackson and um and Derrick Henry, it's kind of hard to see the value Rashad Bateman can provide. Now Bateman had a couple of really good games last year. I think the one that comes to mind is the season opener in Kansas City. I think he had like
Uh huh.
nine catches, 120 yards, something like that, and a touchdown. So we know that he has a lot of upside. So, but when the focus is on running the ball and utilizing that offensive line, it is not easy. It is not easy to wrap your head around or brain around using Bateman. Yeah, and a couple of things in terms of the rankings. So Justice Hill is not ranked number 4. He is actually ranked number 43, and DeAndre Hopkins is ranked number 83. So just make sure to make sure we're clear about
Ah.
that. But Mark Andrews, he should be back to top 10 form. That says that he should get most of the tight end reps this season, with Isaiah Likely not that far behind. Remember, Isaiah Likely was one of the was one of the interesting names in fantasy football at the start of last season, because if he
Mm-hmm.
also had a big game against Kansas City in the opener, because he had like 11 catches in that first game against the Chiefs. Yeah, but nonetheless, in terms of the roster, right? It is a pretty darn good roster from top to bottom, and Eric DaCosta did a uh, 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 great job building that roster.
Taking a look at the Bengals roster here, the big moves they had was getting deals for Jamar Chase and for T. Higgins. They're locked in there for at least a couple of more years. Joe Burrow's still there. Chase Brown, Zach Moss, and then, of course, the great tight end Mike Gesicki. And Bengals defense is ranked 24 going in this year, and the offensive line is next to dead last.
Yeah,
Hopefully, that line could help Joe Burrow a little bit going into his passings.
and you kind of feel a little disappointed that the Bengals did not adjust the offensive line, but they had to make sure that their two receivers were happy. So that was the main priority for them. This off season, but I think but Chase Brown should be a regular starter once again in most leagues, like he was for the last for the most for the second half and for the end part of the first half, when he snatched the RB1 title away in Cincinnati away from Zach Moss, who came over in free agency. Um, uh, so I think Chase Brown taking the majority of the runs, and Joe Burrow not necessarily being a mobile quarterback is gonna helps his cause. Of course, Chase Brown finished in the top 10 last year, so I think he's gonna go. Uh, he's projected to have another 1,000 yard rushing season. So I think that's going to help there. And so I think that's really the big things we need to know. But that offensive line, I can't wrap my head around. I said that it's going to be another situation though, where Joe Burrow and his skill players will carry the team throughout, because the defense is still not great. Although I do like that what they have in terms of their edge rushers, because they have Trey Hendrickson, they drafted Shamar Stewart, they have still a solid linebacking group, but I'm really concerned about that secondary though. I think that with what the Bengals have, that they're gonna have to play against Amon-Ra St. Brown. They're gonna have to. They have Justin Jefferson on their schedule. They have Josh Allen on their schedule this year, and Tyreek Hill on that schedule, and Marvin Harrison Jr. So their secondary is going to be tested. So how the Bengals defense can hold up and basically make an be able to slow down offenses just enough for them to win games. They're going to have to win a bunch of shootouts this year. Because I mean, I don't know what the upside is when you have a defense that's not as great and an offensive line that's not as great.
Yeah, it's I don't know, but we'll just see what happens there. Um, we have, of course, the Cleveland Browns, and looking at that roster I see right there, really the only shining star there is, of course, their tight end, David Njoku. And they got Quinshawn Judkins, who they drafted, I believe it was this year.
Yep, yeah, and what's also not on the chart is another one of their draft picks, which was Dylan Sampson, who they drafted, who they drafted later on in the draft. So they drafted 2 running backs and they drafted 2 quarterbacks. So which is so kind of backwards thinking. But yeah, as you did mention, Tim, that David Njoku, I think, is in line to be a tight end one in pretty much every format you can find. David Njoku should be a starting tight end on a weekly basis, because he's going to get his fair share of the targets in Cleveland. Although I do think Jerry Jeudy, if the quarterback actually does play well, I think that there's going to be some upside for Jerry Jeudy. Maybe be a good flex option as a wide receiver. So I think you definitely. So Judy's going to be a receiver that's going to be taken in pretty much every format. But I think as the quarterback goes, so does Jerry Jeudy. And Jerry Jeudy was one of those great Alabama wide receivers who was so good in college, but he got thrust into a bad quarterback situation because based upon where he was drafted. So maybe we can get Jerry Jeudy to show what he's capable of. We saw that at times last year, especially when Jameis Winston was the Browns quarterback. But
right,
but really not much to write home about when it comes to the roster.
Okay, so we are now taking a look at the schedules for each team in the AFC North. Baltimore has their ranking, their win-loss total over-under is 11.5. Now the teams have the colors; those are the home team. Those are the home games, while the ones in white, those are the road games.
Right.
So let me take a good look here. Um, Got a good one in Buffalo to start the season, and and that's going to be a prime time right game. That's Sunday Night Football. The 2 guys who basically finished 1 and 2 in the MVP race last year. So that's going to be big money right there. I'm going to have to put a question mark on that one, because that's going to be tough to call right there.
Yeah.
Then
So,
yeah.
right now I'm circling that as a Baltimore win. I think Baltimore has a better roster and a better head coach than Buffalo does. So, so
Oh,
like here's the thing though, I went through a quick round of the games, um, uh, um, and a check before the schedule release came out, and I had the Ravens finishing with the best record of the NFL with going 15-2.
wow, 15-2.
Yeah, I mean the only losses I have are I think I are home losses to the Lions and the Rams, but everything else I have the Ravens winning.
Wow. And the Rams, that's gonna be that's week 6. I'm gonna put a question mark on that one. They can beat Kansas City. They can beat Houston. They'll have no problem against Chicago. No problem against Miami. Minnesota, Cleveland, New York Jets, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Green Bay. At Green Bay, week 17. Yeah, I could probably see them taking it. I'm kind of, looking at this, I'm kind of leaning the same direction as you are, 15-2.
Yeah,
So I'm definitely going to take the over on that one.
yeah. I feel like 9.5 is pretty accurate. I mean, I feel like Cincinnati can be a 9 or 10 win team, but I really think they have such a limited upside though, in my view, because of the defense and the offensive line that we talked about. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think Cincinnati. Right now I have Cincinnati winning 9 games.
9 games. The over under is 9.5. So they'll take Cleveland in both games. Uh,
I have since I think I have Cincinnati and Cleveland splitting, both teams winning at home.
oh, they cannot win at Buffalo, so they will not win it. Indeed, they'll win New England. I could say they lose in Pittsburgh, but I'll say that they'll win when the Pittsburgh Steelers come to Cincinnati. That will be in week 7. Uh, Cincinnati versus Green Bay, that's a loss right there. They'll lose at home against Detroit. Uh, I'll give a win. Denver week 4. I think I think Minnesota will probably beat them in week 3. They'll beat Jacksonville week 2. So then at Baltimore, Cincinnati will no home against Baltimore. Don't really have a chance. They could probably beat Miami, and they'll probably beat Arizona. So take a look. This 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Looks like I'm going 8-11 on this one. So I gotta take the slight under on this one.
Yeah.
So I'll write down 8-11 for the Cincinnati Bengals. Moving on right now to the Cleveland Browns. Okay, where's my notes here? I know I got my notes here. Since Cleveland here. I don't see too many games that they could actually win this year.
Yeah.
Uh,
Right now I have the Browns going 2-15.
Ouch.
Yeah. And
You're taking a huge under on that one.
yeah, I think they can beat the Titans. And I think the other game I had them winning. Yeah, I think Cincinnati though. I think that those were the 2 games that I had them winning.
You have them winning home against the Bengals. That would be week 1.
Yeah.
Home against the Bengals. I don't see that happening. No. Green Bay, no. Detroit, no. Minnesota, no. Pittsburgh, no. Miami, no. Um, I could see New England beating them in week 8. Uh, Jets, I could actually see a win there. And the rest of it, yeah, it looks like you and I are going to have the same record, 2-15. That's going
Yeah.
to be a huge under, and so so I'm taking the under on Cleveland. And now we go to Pittsburgh, where things seemed okay until yesterday when they decided to sign that bad man. So now it kind of changes everything a little bit here. They have the over under is set at 8.5. Uh, I can see a victory in week 1 against the Jets. Um, Home against Seattle, I can see a victory there. They can beat New England. Uh, Home against Minnesota. I'm going to put a question mark on there because, of course, Minnesota is going to be starting J.J. McCarthy, who,
Yeah.
of course, was injured at the preseason last year, so we didn't get to see much of him play.
Yeah.
Uh, Definitely a win versus Cleveland. They can. What did I say about Cincinnati at Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
So yeah, win at home. Yeah, Cincinnati and Cleveland. I see them against Cincinnati. I see them splitting the series with each team winning at home. Um, I kind of see maybe an upset in Green Bay, maybe or a home in Green Bay, home
Yeah.
against Green Bay.
It's. I mean that week 8 Sunday night game. It's a Sunday night football game, and that's gonna have a lot of juice in there because that'll be Aaron Rodgers taking on his former team for the first time.
Oh, definitely. Uh, Cincinnati winning there, and then they can beat Chicago. Uh, I can't see them winning at home against Buffalo.
No.
Uh, no. Let's see. I could probably see
Yeah.
Pittsburgh and Baltimore splitting with each team winning at home.
Yeah. I think that's gonna be a sweep for Baltimore. Yeah. Right.
Oh,
Yeah, but I have Pittsburgh winning right now, winning 9 games.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I got them going 10-7, so I'm going to take the over on Pittsburgh. So yeah, so I have Baltimore with 11-5, Cincinnati 8-11, Cleveland 2-15, and Pittsburgh 10-7. So I think with Aaron Rodgers, they will be probably sure to make the playoffs without really having to sweat it out.
Yeah, and I think the thing too with Rodgers is that Rodgers actually played some pretty solid football down the stretch of the season last year. So if Rodgers can carry that over to Pittsburgh, I think there's an actual shot the Steelers could make the playoffs this year. Which is kind of crazy given how loaded the AFC is, but when you're looking at teams that could be in the wild card conversation, and I think you kind of think anybody in the AFC West can make the playoffs. I mean, I say especially with because Pete Carroll's now the coach of the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
you also got to think about New England being in there. Um, So there could be a backdoor path for the Steelers to really to make the playoffs if they can win enough of these competitive games.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's basically our view of the AFC North right now. As we take a look now at the NFC North, or as the great Chris Berman used to always refer to it, the NFC North Division.
Mm,
We got the Bears, the Lions, the Packers, and the Vikings.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, looking
And,
at the Bears right now,
yep.
Caleb Williams is going to be starting ranked 15th among the quarterbacks with DeAndre Swift and Roshan Johnson. I think that was one of their draft picks from this year.
Is that I think Roshan Johnson has been. I think he's bounced around the league a little bit.
Ah,
I said, he's 24 years old. He was a fourth round pick, but he was a fourth round pick by the Bears. But he had the very limited touches last year. I mean, last year he had 55 touches for 150 yards, 6 touchdowns. He's been mainly used in some goal to go situations. And he was able he got to score a few touchdowns.
uh-huh.
Um, yeah, I mean, last year he ranked 52nd among running backs, and the year before he ranked 51st.
Right. Then you got the receiving core of DJ Moore and second year receiver Roma Dunze. And then you got Luther Burden the third, which I think was one of the rookies. And then you got Colson Levin at their tight end position. Uh, Bears defense was above average last year, 12th in fantasy, and but it's the offensive line that's going to make things interesting because they got some help when they got. I can't remember his name. It was this guy that the Bears signed away from the Chiefs.
Joe Tooney.
Joe Tooney. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
One, a very underrated offensive lineman, in my opinion.
Yeah, and they also traded with the Rams for Jonah Jackson, and they also signed former Falcons center Drew Dahlman to a 3-year contract. So you look at the Bears' offensive line. That offensive line. I think is going to give Caleb Williams a lot of opportunities to be successful and and be able to play at a high level and the level he's capable of playing in that people thought he would be coming out of college. So it's a definitely exciting time. And also remember the head coach for the Chicago Bears is going to be their play caller, Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson, who of course was the offensive coordinator in Detroit, right?
Right. Yeah, the offensive coordinator in Detroit and so I think he's gonna allow playmakers to be playmakers, which is kind of like how the Lions built their team up on the bottom.
Right.
So that the Lions bring in Jameer Gibbs and draft Sam Laporta in the same draft. They draft Amon St. Brown, and that's what makes the Lions such a formidable offense. But now with the Bears, this will allow he's going to probably allow Caleb Williams to be a playmaker, which is kind of what you have to be as a quarterback. And the Bears also drafted Colston Loveland as the first tight end taken in the draft this year. So it's not many. I mean, throughout this entire division, you had some really good tight ends on all four teams.
Yeah, I would definitely think so. DJ Moore, hoping he could have a up season this year. He's only 28 years old, so he's still pretty young guy, in my opinion. He's still got a lot left there. Detroit, they were one bad mamma jamma last year. Looking up and down that line, it looks pretty darn good in my opinion. With Jared Goff there, and then the great duo of Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery. Then you have the great receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown with Jameson Williams and Tim Patrick. Sam Laporta, who has been a pure joy to have on my fantasy roster for the last couple of years.
But thing, Sam Laporta was not great in the first half last year. It wasn't until the second half of the season where he really
Right.
started to ramp up. So I think you have to think Sam Laporta is a great is a great candidate to have a bounce back season because I mean Sam Laporta was the number one tight end in fantasy his rookie year.
Oh, yeah. The lines of that top 10 defense special teams very good. The offensive line is about pretty much average, but
Which brings us to our big story with the Lions because their All Pro center Frank Ragnow announced his retirement on Monday. So my reaction was just whoa. In terms of that, because Ragnow was such a great center, but he's been ravaged by injuries. So the Lions drafted with their second round pick. The Lions drafted interior offensive lineman Tate Ratledge from Georgia. And he measured in as one of the most athletic guards to ever come out of the SEC. So now he's going to be taking first team reps at center in minicamp in a couple of weeks. So now all of a sudden the Lions' second round pick might be one of the most important players in the entire NFC this year, which is kind of crazy, but. But the thing about Tate Ratledge, how it relates to Jameer Gibbs, David Montgomery, he is a pretty good run blocking center. So I think that means that the Jameer Gibbs situation is not totally hopeless. So that he'll still get 20-25 touches a game, and he'll still be able to run for 100 yards a game, and really and catch a few balls out of the backfield for Jared Goff. So. It is, and like the thing we're gonna have to watch and observe is how the new offensive coordinator John Morton runs the offense.
that will be very interesting to see here if we see the Detroit Lions try to continue their dominance in the NFC North. Going to Green Bay now.
And also, so how valuable do you think Jameson Williams is going to be in fantasy this year? Do you think he's finally going to get to the point where he could be like a top 20 receiver this year? Because I think he has the talent to do it. Now the question is he going to how big of a role of an offense in this offense is he going to have?
Hmm. I'd say he could play a pretty good role here.
Yeah.
A really good one there. We'll just see what happens here. They'll probably double team St. Brown's, so that means they may give Williams a few targets, or maybe their tight end Tim or their wide receiver 3 Tim Patrick may get some targets. So I'll just have to take a look and see what happens there.
Most definitely. So, but now we're on to the Packers, and I think the Packers could be a really interesting case this year.
The bright light I see here, their rookie Matthew Golden from Texas. Uh, he's another good weapon that Jordan Love could probably work with. You still got Josh Jacobs as his running back with Marshawn Lloyd as the backup there. Matthew Golden, James Reed, Romeo Dobbs. Dobbs is not flashy, but he's not trashy. I mean,
Right.
he does the job when he can. Tucker Kraft,
Yeah.
don't know much about him, but the Packers defense special teams is ranked sixth. The offensive line is just a little above average.
And
So,
I mean, they still have Aaron Banks and Elkin Jenkins on that line, so that's what makes it what it is. So
I got them there. So I'll be honest. I'm of course me being a Longhorn fan. I'm going to be keeping my eye on Matthew Golden to see how much they can work him this year. I mean, of course, right now listed as wide receiver one right now. So I'll be keeping my eye on him this year.
yeah, and also if you're wondering about Christian Watson, his rank is 113.
I've been slipping down here a little bit.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
it's like
remember Watson's dealing with injuries, so and Dontavian Wicks is ranked 126. Yeah,
so they do have other options if
yeah.
one of the starters goes
Yeah.
down.
So, yeah, but I do think the question though, in terms of the running backs, really, is the workload that Josh Jacobs had last year gonna catch up to him? And I think that's really what I'm looking to see here. When it comes to that.
Yeah, I mean, really don't want to really run down a great running back like him. Kind of reminds me of when the Cowboys kept giving the ball to what was his name, DeMarco Murray. When they
Yeah,
kept giving the
yeah.
ball to him, they kind of wore him down so much.
Yeah, but I think the case though is that he played an offense where the Cowboys just ran straight draws up the middle, which really helped him preserve energy and keep the energy throughout the whole season. But the following year he went to the Eagles and Chip Kelly called all these crazy run routes on him. So so I think so I think you kind of have to look at the offense and who the coaches are and what and how they utilize the players. So that and a player sometimes is only as good as his coaches are.
Right, that's absolutely true. Now going over to Minnesota, they decided to let Sam Donald go after that year, but Sam Donald was really good, then kind of slipped off a little bit in the last half of the season. So instead of deciding to extend him, they decided to just give him his walking papers so they could go ahead and bring up JJ McCarthy, who, of course, was injured during training camp last year, so he pretty much missed the entire season. He's got he still has Aaron Jones, and he's now has Jordan Mason, who came over from San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean, it really boosts the 40. It really boosts the 49ers of the Vikings ground attack and the depth of the running back position because remember Jordan Mason filled in for Christian McCaffrey when he initially had that Achilles issue because
Right.
remember we because everyone thought Christian McCaffrey was going to play that season opener, but then and then when the inactives came out, he was listed on the inactives and basically and basically, all the Christian McCaffrey owners were like, "You're totally, I'm totally effed the season because McCaffrey was the consensus first pick in fantasy drafts last year. I would not have taken him last year with the first overall pick because of. Because remember he did have some issues injuries flare up in training camp, so that he had to miss a couple of weeks of training camp because of that same issue, only for it to resurface, right at the worst possible time for fantasy owners. So, so that does hurt Aaron Jones a little bit, but I still think I think Aaron Jones, even though Mike Clay of ESPN and I got all the QBWR. O line, all the rankings except for the defenses from his projections PDF.
Right.
I think he's gonna be the top 20 this year. I really do. It's because you have a quarterback who hasn't played in the NFL before he this guy that got hurt towards ACL. I think it's gonna. I think this offense is going to be more reliant on the running game. But I think especially when you factor in with the type of player and the type of leader that Aaron Jones is. But plus, how good of Minnesota's offensive line is. It's probably it might be the second best offensive line in the NFL, but only behind Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I yeah, I can see Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison comparable to some of the best duos in the NFL, including in Philadelphia. They still got T.J. Hawkinson, who's been a pretty darn good tight end here. Um, they have an average defense special teams, but the offensive line second in fantasy, which is pretty darn good.
Yeah, the exception to where I got the projection rankings from. So defense slash special teams, I got that from FantasyPros.com, but I do kind of disagree with it a little bit. I think Minnesota is going to finish higher than 17th because when Brian Flores is running that defense, they have dudes all across that defense, especially that deep. I think that defensive line is going to be sick this year. I mean, you get that Andrew Van Ginkel, Jonathan Grenard, Dallas Turner, Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave, Harrison Phillips, all on that defensive line. I think that's going to it's going to bode well here for the Vikings here in terms of the defense slash special teams for the Minnesota Vikings.
Hmm. Yeah, that defense is pretty good last year, so yeah, I'll probably tend to agree with you right there. I mean, that defense is gonna, they should be really something this year,
Yeah, I remember Brian Flores coaching that defense, unlike Ed Donatel, who was really bad at his job.
right? So now, as we take a look at the schedules for each team in the NFC North, once again, the ones that are colored are the home games, the ones in white are the road games. And I kind of took a quick look at the Vikings schedule here. Their projected over under total is 8.5. I've got a possible 4-13.
You think the Minnesota Vikings are going to go 4-13?
No, not the Vikings, the Bears. Take a look at the Bears schedule right now.
So you think the Chicago Bears with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams and DJ Moore and that defense, they're all going to go 4-13?
I know I can see him winning at home against New Orleans and at home against the Giants, home against the Bengals. Uh, I pretty much see Detroit sweeping them this year. I think I see okay, I might change it up and get a little bit of a split. I can see a split against Minnesota.
Yeah, I think they'll split with Minnesota. I think the Bears are. I think they have a pretty they have a pretty favorable schedule in terms of offensive production the first half of the season because I think because they got Detroit in week 2 inside Ford Field, so you figure that's going to be a shootout. That then Dallas, you're not sure about that defense. The Raiders, Commanders, and
Yeah.
Saints, you have questions about their defense. So you could really see some pretty good numbers from the Bears position skill players through the first half of the season. Now it's and then you also after that week 8 game against Baltimore, which I think is going to be pretty tough. Then they have Cincinnati. Cincinnati before, their schedule gets tougher though because facing defenses like the Giants, the Vikings, the Steelers, Eagles, Packers. So that's going to be a real a tough stretch here for the Bears. But then after that, they get the Browns, the Packers, and the 49ers during fantasy playoffs. So I think that could really be an opportunity have an additional member of the Bears in your lineup for those matchups, and then of course for those
Oh,
leagues
yeah.
that go to the end of the regular season, so that they'll get to the Lions in week 18. But right now, I have the Bears winning 10 games.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean I think anybody can win that division, including Minnesota and Green Bay. I will disagree. I will disagree with that. But for now, I currently have Green Bay and Minnesota each winning 7 games, and I have the Lions winning 10. I have the Bears winning 10.
Wow.
Yes,
Well, right now, I have the Bears at 5-12, but I'm gonna have to take a look during their OTAs and their mini camps and all that, and I'll just see what happens here. I mean, I do wish Ben Johnson all the best of luck. I mean, he really did a hell of a job in Detroit.
right.
So,
Yeah, and how John Bourne's going to call the offense still remains to be seen.
right. Speaking of Detroit, they start against Green Bay at Green Bay. I could see them winning that one. Chicago, uh, Detroit, Detroit at Baltimore. I may have to put a question mark on that one because that's almost an even playfield right there. Cleveland, yes, I see a win there. Cincinnati, yeah. I think Detroit could probably beat Kansas City on the road at
I
Arrowhead.
mean, I wouldn't bat an eye on that.
Hmm. Okay, we'll put a question mark on that. Tampa Bay, that could be an interesting matchup right there. But I could see them beating Tampa Bay, but not by much. Hmm. I
And
see.
that's a game I could see Tampa winning on the road in Detroit. I remember Tampa, and thing is, Tampa beat Detroit on the road last year too.
Ah. I I could probably see it. I could probably see a split with Green Bay. Each team winning at home.
Yeah, I could see that too.
Where's the other Green Bay? Losing at Green Bay. The win at Green Bay. Uh, I hate to say this, but I could.
Tim, I think you're muted.
A game with Pittsburgh, Week 16. That is very, very tasty in my opinion. I don't know if I can call a win on that one right now.
Yeah. It's yes. So I actually have my spreadsheet out for the Bears. For the NFC North. So I will tell you what I have. So I actually have the Bears, and I don't have the winning 10 games. I have the winning 12 games.
Ah,
Yes, because in every divisional game the Bears play, I have the home team winning each time. I do. I have the Bears beating Philly. I have them beating the 49ers and the Ravens on the road. Actually, so I don't have the Lions winning the Baltimore. I have the Bears doing.
Ah, okay. Lose at
Yeah,
Minnesota.
yeah,
Win, rebound. Hmm. I got some. There's a couple of doozies back to back. Week 10 and 11, both on the road. First in Washington, then in Philadelphia.
yeah. I remember the Lions are the only team on the Eagles' schedule that voted to keep the tush push. Remember that.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah. As far as Detroit's concerned, I have them beating Washington and losing to Philly.
I can see that.
Yeah,
They'll win against the Giants. The Steelers. So right now my question marks are week 3 at Baltimore, week 6 at Kansas City, and week 16 at home against Pittsburgh. Those are my 3 question marks right there. Other than that, right now I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I got 11 wins for Detroit so
yeah.
far.
Yeah, I have 10. So I have them beating Pittsburgh. What did you say? Week 3 against in Baltimore.
Week 3 at Baltimore.
Yeah, I have that as a loss.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then week 6 at the Chiefs. So I have that currently listed as a win for the Lions.
So the Lions could be the Chiefs. Well, that's a possibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and Pittsburgh, week 16, that's a home game. I could probably see them winning that one. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 4.
Yikes.
If everything goes correctly, that could go 13 and 4. So I could take the definite over on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, right now I have that as a slight under for the Lions because I have the Lions at 10.
Lions at 10. Okay. Then we got the Packers here.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, I have the Packers splitting with everybody in the division.
Mm-hmm.
Except that I have the Lions. The Lions Packers series. I have the road team winning in both games.
Ah.
Yeah. So I have that. But I do have the Packers struggling on the road because I have the Packers losing 6 of their 9 road games.
Ooh.
Yeah. The only road games I currently have I have the Packers as winning are at Detroit, at the Giants, and at the Browns.
Um. At the Browns, week 3, yeah, that's definitely a win. Uh. Hmm. Week 6 at home against Cincinnati. That's interesting.
Yeah. I currently have that as a loss for Green Bay.
A loss for Green Bay. I think they could go to Arizona and win there. Uh, I can see. What did I say? Pittsburgh beat Green Bay at home.
Yeah. I mean, especially
Yeah,
now with Roger, especially now with
yeah,
Rodgers. Yeah. I mean, before the Rodgers signing, I had that as a loss already.
right. At Denver. Actually, I think I may take Denver in an upset week 15.
Hmm.
Lose to there, and then Baltimore is going to be a loss. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Green Bay's at 9.5. I got a My 2 question mark games right now is week 2 at home against the Commanders, and then week 4 on the road in Dallas.
Yeah. I have the home team winning both games you just mentioned.
Oh. So you got the Packers over the Commanders, but then you have Dallas over Green Bay.
Yeah, that's what I have on my board right now.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So right now I have 7 wins, but
I I have 7.
okay, you have 7. I have 7 right now. We'll just take a closer look at Washington and Dallas. Then Minnesota, their win loss over under is 8.5. I mean, I can see Minnesota. Okay, road team. I see the road team winning the series with Minnesota and Chicago.
Yeah.
They could probably beat Atlanta. Minnesota at Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
That's going to be on a neutral field. So is the
It's
next game against Cleveland.
yeah, as I said, the Pittsburgh Minnesota game is going to be in Ireland, while the Minnesota Cleveland game is going to be in London. So I mean, the Vikings volunteered to have the 2 international games back to back.
2 international games back to back. Okay. They're on. All right. So I got there. Cincinnati. I'm gonna have to put that as a loss at Cincy, or they're at home against Cincy. Or yeah, losing at home against Cincinnati. They're on the road at Pittsburgh. I think I see Pittsburgh winning that one. Um, I say they can beat the Chargers. They'll lose at home to the Lions, but they'll win or lose at Detroit, but they'll get Detroit at home.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because
There.
running through the games on my list, the games I have Minnesota winning at home are against Detroit, Green Bay, and Atlanta. And the road games I have Minnesota winning are at Chicago, at Seattle, at Cleveland, and at Pittsburgh. So those are my 7 wins for Minnesota.
Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, they'll probably lose to Seattle. They'll lose at home against the Commanders. Uh, lose to Baltimore. Okay, right now my only question mark for Minnesota is Week 15 at Dallas. What do you have on that one?
Minnesota, Dallas. I have right now. I have the Cowboys winning that game.
Ah, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I see Dallas winning. So it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, I see a long losing streak during the latter part of the season, but I got I got 7-10, so I got to take a slight under with Minnesota this year.
Yeah, I mean, as do I.
So so to recap, I've got the Bears at 5-12, got Detroit at 13-4, Green Bay. I have 2 question marks still, and Minnesota. I've got 7-10. So
Mm-hmm.
so and since we were talking about the NFC North and in particular the Detroit Lions, um, it's time for it's I think it's trivia time, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is trivia time. So yeah, everybody out there, get your thinking caps on because well, I know Flynn is pretty good at these questions here. So
Yeah.
We'll see what happens here. If anybody else is watching, leave your answer in the comments section or in the in the live chat right here. So, Flynn, uh, came up with this question. I kind of figured you might be able to answer it, but I just want to see if you know. So, speaking of the Detroit Lions,
Oh.
who was their Week 1 starting quarterback in the ill-fated 2008 season when they went 0-16?
Oh gosh. They.
That's my question.
Oh shit. They. I mean, like, how many quarterbacks did the Lions have that season?
I think if I'm not mistaken, I think they started a total of three during the season.
S- Yeah. So which is kind of wild, but all right. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So my question relates to a recent passing in the NFL. So legendary defensive end Jim Marshall, who famously ran a fumble recovery the wrong way. Says he died recently. So the question is, so he played with the Minnesota Vikings for 19 seasons. The year before, I was prior to play with Minnesota, so he was acquired from an NFL team. Which NFL team traded Jim Marshall to the Minnesota Vikings?
Oh.
And I'll give you a hint. It's one of the teams we discussed tonight.
So I've got a 1 in 8 chance.
So yeah, basically,
So basically, he was acquired by Minnesota from this team,
yes.
and it's one of the teams that we've talked about.
Hmm.
Um, Jim Wrongway Marshall, God rest his soul. Um, I would think they would probably be a division rival. So it was the Bears or the Lions or the Vikings. Jim Marshall. I'm going to take a guess and say the Chicago Bears.
Okay, so you're gonna go with the Chicago Bears. So I'm gonna answer your question first. I mean, it's like the 2008 Lions are so infamous that I mean the only person I can come up with is Dan Orlovsky, which is kind of me throwing darts in this one.
Orlovsky was a starter in Detroit during that season, but I'm sad to say, sir, he was not the Week 1 starter.
So who was it?
I'll give you a clue. He started for the Lions, for the Bengals, and for the Cowboys.
It's, it's John Kitna.
John Kitna.
Oh wow! What a name that was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then to answer my question. And I think at the time they were in the division. Let me make sure. I just want to see if they were in the same division. Um, So at the time this transaction what was made. Um, yeah, yeah, let me just make sure they were division rivals at the time before.
Right.
So I can give you context um uh, for anything.
Right.
So they were not division rivals at the time, but in 1961, the Minnesota Vikings acquired future should have been Hall of Famer had it not been for that wrong way play. So they acquired Jim Marshall from the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, It's kind of weird because I was actually thinking that, but I didn't actually
Hmm.
verbally say it. I thought it may have been a divisional rival at the time, but they were not. So I think I should have gone with my first instincts and gone with Cleveland.
Yeah.
But yeah, but rest in peace, wrong way.
Yeah.
I have to
Uh,
I have to
author
take a
of
look at that.
it's an author of one of the worst plays in NFL history.
Oh yes, definitely, definitely. I have to take a look at that because uh, I gotta remember who the Vikings were playing in that game. I guess I can't. I'm trying to remember now. That could be another trivia question, but who were the Vikings playing in that game?
Mm.
I have, truthfully, I have no
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, so the wrong way game. I actually saw the highlights earlier this week because I went to it. So they were playing the 49ers in San
Oh, the
Francisco.
49ers. So it's the 49ers and the Vikings when Jim Marshall picked up the fumble and then ran the wrong way and ended up scoring a safety for San Francisco.
Yeah. So but the Vikings won the game. By the way, they won the
Oh,
game.
they
So
did win the game, so at least there was some solace in that.
yeah, the final score was 27-22 Vikings.
27-22 Vikings, so at least got a victory out of that. But,
Yeah.
well, I guess on that happy note, we'll go ahead and close up shop for this edition of Fantasy Football Fever. We will be here 7 nights from now when we will continue our division previews. We're going to be heading south. We'll be
Yep.
talking about the AFC South and the NFC South. Two divisions that have not been too flashy over the last few years. We'll take a look at those teams and see what we predict for the over-unders for their win totals. Meanwhile, the NBA Finals and Stanley Cup Finals are here, and of course, I'm sure that John Flynn will have something to say about that for his next edition of Hooked on Sports.
So like I worked early this morning, so I didn't get a chance to see the game live, but I saw the highlights. But I mean, like, what? The Pacers did it again.
This guy Halliburton, he's like mad, insanely awesome.
I watched him a little bit at Iowa State, and now he's become one of the best point guards in all of basketball in the NBA.
Oh yeah, definitely. So
Yeah, yeah. So, but of course, as you see on in the banner down below, next Friday at the same time, same place, we're gonna preview the AFC and the NFC South.
yep, so that and now as far as the teams that we talked about tonight, the AFC North, the NFC North, you fans that are watching, why don't you give us your predictions down in the comment section? Let us know who you think is going to make their over/under totals and what you think the records are going to be.
Yeah,
So,
and also if you happen to miss part of the show, that these are this will be available on replay on both Timmy's channel and my channel because it's mainly through Tim's channel, but it's also simulcasted on mine as well. That'll be the case throughout all this. So if you have anything, you can go back and listen back.
now this is basically a joint effort here. So,
Mm-hmm.
so we'll do that. So I guess that's it. Um, Hopefully our friend John Natali will be back for next week when we cover the AFC and NFC South. So I guess we'll close up shop. Thanks for watching, everyone. That's John Flynn
Yep.
for our friend John Natali. I'm Tim McClellan. Thanks for watching this, everyone. Have a great week. Enjoy the week ahead. God bless you all. And as always, be good sort. See ya.